Good evening. My name is Sowate Lomote, the project manager for the Department of Transportation. This is a live event, virtual public information meeting on this Thursday, January 5th, 2023, beginning at 7 p.m. It is the policy of the department to inform the community, the city officials and engineers of upcoming construction projects from the beginning of its inception, so that the informed community leaders will be able to make comments and make suggestions that may impact the final design of the project. The department vets every suggestion and comments received, and as appropriate, incorporates them into the final design of the project. So we present to you state project number 15-385, rehabilitation, or precisely preservation of bridge number 03637, which carries Route 130 over the Yellow Mill Channel in the city of Bridgeport. A recording of the formal presentation will be posted to YouTube after the live event. Closed captioning, including non-English translation options, will be available at that time. The photo before you is the elevation view of the bridge from the downstream side, looking through the navigable channel. And in the far left is a mariner boat. Next slide, please. Thank you all for taking the time to join us at this meeting. And I would like to invite you to a question and answer session following the formal presentation. And please write down your questions and comments during the session and share it with us by email at dot project15-385@ct.gov, or leave a voicemail at telephone number 860-594-2020. Or you can chat with us at Zoom Q&A. Also, you can visit the project website at www:/portal.ct.gov/dot Bridgeport 15-385. And you can give us a brief survey of this presentation at www:/portal.ct.gov/CT survey. There's a QR code also you can scan for further information. Please note that the comment period is open through January 20, 2023. Next slide, please. Title 6 of the Civil Rights gives you the opportunity to give a brief voluntary feedback. And of course, give us a good survey. That will be appreciated at www:/portal.ct.gov/CT.DOT survey. There's also a notice to the public you can avail yourself with at www:/portal.ct.gov business/title-vi-page. No person shall, on a basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. Next slide, please. The project is managed by the Department of Transportation, and the management team for the department are as follows. Bartholomew Sweeney is the manager of bridges, and Bao K. Chun is the principal engineer for the department. And Swate Lamote, myself, is the project manager for the department. And you have Bracco Frimpong as the project engineer for the department. And the coordination and all inquiries may be channeled through the project engineer. Also, the department has contracted a local consulting firm, Close, Jensen and Miller, with the acronym CJM. Tom Ryan is the project manager, and John Miller is the project engineer for CJM. And they will be in charge of the design of this project. And assisting them is the sub-consultant, Hardesty and Hanover, with the acronym H&H. And Stephen Holm is a project manager, and Brian Kingsley is a project engineer. Next slide, please. Now, I would like to hand over to John Miller of CJM to present to you the details of the project. But before he comes on, I would like to invite any city official or engineer who may be present and would like to make a comment from the beginning or make a statement, can identify themselves and do so now before we continue. Hearing none, I would like to turn it over now to John Miller of CJM to take us through the project.
Thank you, Swate. It's a pleasure to be here and explain this project in more detail. As Swate mentioned, this bridge is over a navigation channel, and you see at the bottom of the screen, Stratford Avenue, Route 130. And our project is downstream of I-95, and it's the limits to the left, just outside the Bass Pro Shops. You see where our project bridge begins, and to the right, before you go under I-95 is, well before 95 is where our project ends. Next slide, please. Our project goals for this project are to rehabilitate the bridge to ensure continued safe and reliable use for the traveling public. In doing so, we plan to bring the bridge to a state of good repair. Currently, its rating is considered fair, and we'll speak in more detail about those descriptions later on in the presentation. The mechanical and electrical upgrades are important to this bridge. We'll bring it to a state-of-the-art in this project. We will extend the service life of the bridge, and this will promote and enhance area commerce and traffic. Thank you. Next slide, please. The purpose and need is to address the operational, safety, and preventative maintenance concerns, and to upgrade the structural integrity of the entire bridge to a state of good repair, extending its service life. Structurally, the requirements, what we will do is improve the access and general safety, repair deteriorated structural steel, and improve the balance of these bascule bridges. Electrical, we will redo the control system, the motor control center, and the generator, since they're all at or near the end of their useful life. Mechanical work is involved. It involves the drive motors, reducers, brakes. And as I said, Brian Kinsley of Hardesty and Hanover will speak in more detail about those, including the jaw and diaphragm span locks, which are difficult to align and maintain. Architectural improvements will be made for operator visibility and to improve the control house safety and functionality. And the fender systems at the navigation channel are in need of some improvements for safety and maintenance. And next slide, please. And with that, Brian Kinsley of Hardesty Hanover. Thank you.
Thanks, John. As John said, my name is Brian Kinsley with Hardesty Hanover, one of the sub-consultants working on designing and repairing this structure. The bridge was originally constructed in 1926 with a major structural, mechanical, and electrical rehab in 1998. I was lucky enough to be a part of the 2016 storm armoring and resilience upgrades that were made in response to the bridge being hit pretty hard by a couple of the more recent superstorms, including Sandy. And now we're entering a new phase and a rehabilitation study. So the existing structure is a 4-span bridge, a total of 340 feet long. And the main span is the 4-leaf rolling bascule with 122 feet pinion to pinion. The approach spans are pre-stressed concrete box beams. And the bridge is overall 81.5 feet wide with a 60-foot roadway and 9-foot-9 sidewalks on both sides. The navigable channel is 100 feet wide. This bridge carries US Route 130 Stratford Avenue over the Yellow Mill Channel with 2 lanes in each direction, seeing an average of about 13,600 vehicles per day. And the draw span opens on 24-hour notice, so it is not regularly manned. You just need to call ahead anytime that you want an opening. This is the existing plan and elevation of the bridge. We've got the main span with the fender system right in the middle, and you can see as the span opens, as the leaves open up, they also roll backwards to give a 100-foot clear channel at the end of the bridges. This is the same shot that you saw at the beginning of the presentation. It's the south elevation. Looking northwest, you can see the very tip of the Bass Pro Shops right over the top of the bridge. And you might notice the brick control houses with the green metal roofs. This is the north elevation. Again, the big landmark around here is usually the Bass Pro Shop. We can see in a normal tidal situation, the fender system exposed a few feet, which is what I was out there standing on when we took these photos. This is the west elevation, looking in the same general direction when the bridge is open. You can see the underside, the structural steel, the stringers, floor beams, and girders that make up the structural components of the bridge. And again, you can see the fender system and the access into the bascule pit. The existing bridge condition, it's not in bad condition. The deck rate's a 7, the superstructure a 5, substructure a 5, mechanical system is a 6, the electrical is adequate, and the fender system is right now a 4. And this is all based on the department's rating conditions that go from a scale of 1 to 9, a 9 being brand new, excellent condition. And what we want to do is make sure that this bridge is in at least a 5, hopefully a 6 rating and make sure that we don't have anything that presents itself as poor any longer. Structurally, anybody who's crossed the bridge may recognize the top two photos. We've got a shot looking west where we can see that the existing movable parapet has a bit of a large gap between the fixed parapet. And then just to the right, we can see failing coating on the sidewalk adjacent to one of the control houses. And underneath, we can see a view from the lower floor of one of the control houses, where some of that failed coating on the sidewalk may have led to some water leaking and some concrete spalling on the inside. We've also, on the top left, we've got a shot of the existing jaw and diaphragm closure system that currently locks the leaves in place when the bridge is closed. The top right, you can see down inside of the bascule pit, which is currently pretty clean and well kept as a result of the storm armoring rehabilitation back in 2016. Down on the left, you can see looking along the girder. It's a nice clean looking bridge, and underneath you can see right down the middle of the bridge from the fender system right across to the opposite side. You can see the nav lights that you would catch anytime that you're traveling in a boat, either underneath or during a bridge opening. We've got a few shots of some of the mechanical equipment that, as we stated, some of it's nearing the end of its useful life. Top left, we've got the primary gear reducer, brakes, and motors, which we plan on replacing. And on the bottom right, we've got the existing rack and pinion, where we have a little bit reduced tooth to tip clearance, which, you know, it makes for we'd like to rectify that and make for a little smoother operation of the structure. Again, one of the main focuses of this project is to remove the existing jaw and diaphragm closure system and locking system at the toe of this bridge. This type of system, while it does involve no moving parts, it's particularly difficult for bridge operators to align the spans with the current electrical system. So we'd like to replace this with a lock bar type motor actuated span lock, which is something that we've used and successfully on plenty of other structures. Here's just an example of what the new lock bar system may look like. Whereas previously the bridge had to be fully coordinated and closed in a certain sequence, now the leaves can close on their own, and we can just drive this lock bar across when everything is fully seated. Electrically, we found some fire damage that was observed in one of the sub-cable cabinets. Which may have been caused by a lightning strike, and as part of that and the age of the system, we're suggesting to replace the sub cables. And on the bottom left, you can see the existing generator system, which hasn't been used all that much, but again, it's entering the end of its useful lifespan, and we propose to replace that and provide a new transfer switch equipment. The existing MCC relay system doesn't provide diagnostic information, and we'd like to provide a system that does provide diagnostic features so that we could better troubleshoot and better run all the systems on the structure. We'd also propose replacing the existing span drive motors with variable frequency AC drives. Another thing you might have noticed while walking across the span or driving across the span is that the windows in the control house have very low visibility through them because of the age and the material that the windows are made out of, the polycarbonate. It's important that our bridge tenders and bridge operators have a full 360-degree view while they're operating the structure to make sure that it's safe in all directions, that there's no pedestrians on the structure, and so that they can better see everything going on the bridge as well as underneath the structure while operating. There are also some miscellaneous flooring and roofing repairs, including a leak in the roof and some floor tiles that are coming up that we would propose to replace. The existing fender is in reasonable condition. There are section losses in the horizontal timber whalers that we see here. Some of them are covered in barnacles and algae, and some of them are outright missing. We haven't noticed any marine borer activity in the vertical or battered timber pile supports, and the zinc sheets over the pile tops are in good condition. So we're looking at making most of our repairs on the horizontal timber whalers and the access walkways and railings. We also want to provide new title markers. So a summary of the structural work that we're proposing is the big one would be improved machinery and maintenance access. And we'd like to provide access platforms for the new proposed span lock assemblies and even additional access for the counterweights for span balance. We do have some structural steel repairs on the stringer webs immediately over the counterweight, and there will be concrete spall repairs along the parapet and within the control house lower level. And we also mentioned the architectural work, including the window glazing replacement on the control house and other miscellaneous control house repairs. Mechanically, the biggest thing here is that we want to replace the span lock assemblies in order to make sure that we can run this bridge more effectively and more consistently. And that it makes it a lot easier for future bridge operators. We're also looking to replace the reducers, aux motors, clutch assemblies, brakes, and we want to shim the rear live load shoes, tail locks, bumper blocks, and secondary reducers. We were also asked during this research phase to replace the pit diaphragm pumps and piping, replace the oil water separator, backup generator, and to replace traffic gates and heat pump to the control house. All this work will require additional cleaning and painting in and around the areas that we're going to be working. Electrically, while we're replacing all these things, the mechanical stuff, we are going to go in and install brake heaters, modify the interlocks, replace the barrier gates and the motor control systems, replace the main motors and transfer switches, and also furnish new wireless PLC communications and television system so that we can monitor the structure remotely. We'd like to put new space heaters in the houses to keep those operators a little bit more comfortable, and replace the roadway lighting and upgrade all of the existing lights to LED. And then one of the big items is that we'd like to replace the sub cables on the project, which are the cables that go from one pier, one of the movable piers to the other, and control all the communications and power between the two, so that everything, so that the whole bridge works as a single system. At this point, no, I'm going to cover this one. Excuse me, I'm going to go back to it. As far as the fender work goes, like we discussed, we're going to retain the existing pile support system, replace the deteriorated whalers, replace the walkways, posts, and railings as needed, and replace the missing tide markers. And now I'd like to hand this back off to John with CJM to discuss traffic maintenance and carry this presentation through.
Thank you, Brian. The traffic maintenance scheme that we developed is a two construction stage. Each stage would be 4 to 6 months in duration per stage. And we would shift traffic to one span while maintaining the other span, while the other span is closed and we're working on it. We'll maintain one lane in each direction throughout most activities, with only short-term detours during major activities only. And during those short-term detours, we expect to be able to maintain a pedestrian walkway on one side of the bridge throughout. The traffic maintenance will require a temporary bolted metal beam rail in the center of the movable bridge span. We feel we can maintain traffic throughout the construction, and we note that the marine users are required to give 24-hour notice for an opening, and the contractor will require close coordination with that to ensure that we provide marine traffic openings in accordance with that standard. Extended detours are not anticipated, and again, there will be and maybe some short-term roadway closures. Next slide, please. And when those short-term closures are in effect, again, they are short-term, full-width roadway closures and during off-peak hours, as has been done in past projects. As Brian mentions, he's worked on this bridge previously. We work closely with city officials and emergency services. And for those short terms, in the past, we've used this route in blue that you see, Seaview Avenue to Crescent Avenue to Waterview Avenue. And we route traffic around the bridge site that way. And again, we feel we'll be able to maintain the pedestrian traffic over the bridge during those periods. And these, again, are very short term. They're not extended periods of time for detours. Next slide, please. Bicycle and pedestrian considerations are shared goals that we have with the city and the East End neighborhood and the department. We've had some sit downs with the city officials, and we are going to work together with the city to incorporate city plans for a future bikeway across the bridge. Again, the department is interested in secure and reliable mobility options to the traveling public to and from the city. And I'll note that we, the next slide, please. We are aware of a Metro COG study that has looked at the East End neighborhood and ways to better represent them in the transportation and economic interest and all the road users, to incorporate motorists, pedestrians, cyclists as best possible. And our project, if you go back, please, Brian, thanks. Our project, while it's outside the limits of that study that we are aware of, and it's a project that isn't part of this project, but it's something that we're aware of. And because we have consistent goals, we want to be sure that we're incorporating what we can into our project. And to that extent, we are working with the city on the, thank you, Brian, the pedestrian traffic. We have good sidewalks on both sides of the bridge already. For a bikeway, Route 130 is a main connector for the city's plans of the bikeway, and we will work with them to gain that access better, more reliable. And last is there's some lighting improvements right within the limits of our bridge that we will incorporate. And all of that we feel is very consistent with the Metro COG study. Next slide, please. Our current project schedule and cost overview is final design plans are expected for late August of 2024, with a design completion date of October of 2024, advertising November 6th, 2024. All of these dates are subject to availability of funds and completion of the required environmental permits, which I'll go over shortly. Currently, our proposed construction cost is about $15 million, with a 80% federal fund and 20% state funding. Next slide, please. And the schedule is anticipated to start the actual construction in the spring of 2025, with 2 construction seasons anticipated to complete the project. Next slide, please. Cost estimates. You can see the breakdowns here, about 3.2 million in the mechanical, 2.6 in the electrical, 2.5 in the structural. Construction costs, including maintenance and protection of traffic, mobilization, minor items, inflation incidentals, and construction staking at about 6.1 for a total cost of $14.6 million. Next slide, please. And the permitting that we envision is a Office of Long Island Sound Structures Dredging and Fill, a deep flood management and general certification, a Section 401 water quality certification, Army Corps of Engineer pre-construction notification, and because we are over the Coast Guard navigation channel, we anticipate a letter of approval from them. And the next slide, please. And I'm going to turn it back over to the department, Bao Chung, and thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John, for the wonderful presentation, and also for Brian also for the presentation. And here we would like to receive questions and comments coming from the public. And as a reminder, please chat with us by email or by phone or by Zoom Q&A, and we'll be glad to answer your questions to the fullest. The operators are waiting and in anticipation for your questions. So, do we have any question available yet? All right. I don't.
We have one question.
Okay, we have one question coming up.
What is the time frame of a construction season?
I believe in the presentation, we have 2 construction seasons starting from the spring of 2025. So a construction season usually starts from spring through the November, end of November. And then there's a winter shutdown from December through March. So a full construction season usually is all about 8 to 9 months. Okay. Any other question? There's a question, is this project good use of taxpayers' dollars, and why? I can turn it over to the department principal engineer if he would take a crack at that.
Thank you, Soate. Yeah, so certainly, yeah, we would like to use the state fund or the public fund available to us to improve the conditions of our bridges. So, so this bridge is qualified for the rehabilitation project that we are working on. So we believe that for this project, we can put a good use of taxpayer dollars towards to address all of the deficiencies of the bridge, as well as provide some pedestrian and bike benefits for the pedestrian and bike traffic. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Any other question? Also, we'd like to invite any city official present if they would like to give it and make a comment.
We'll get back to the town official, but there's another question in the Q&A. Where does the rating of this bridge compare to other bridges in the States? So maybe we'll get UJM or H&H, the designer, and we'll answer this question.
I guess I can start it. The electrical, when you compare it to other bridges in the state, one of the things that makes this bridge unique is its movability and its electrical and mechanical components, and the relatively short lifespan that those elements have. They have kind of pushed the window of their usable lifespan, and parts become difficult to obtain. And from a standpoint of reliability, that's not a good position to be in. You're reacting instead of forward, thinking ahead, treating this bridge like an asset. So from that standpoint, this bridge is unique, in need of attention. The overall general conditions on the fender system and the structural steel and the deck, the superstructure, I wouldn't classify any of those things as particularly bad. I think, as hopefully came across in the presentation, the bridge is stable and sound. But I think as compared to other bridges, it's unique in its electrical and mechanical components, and for that reason, it's more in need of attention than others in order to be proactive in keeping the future maintenance costs down and keeping the short-term reliability at the highest level possible.
I think one other thing to add to this is that this is a Coast Guard navigable channel. It is important that the channel is maintained and that vessels that need to travel upstream, whether they're commercial or recreational, they need to be able to get through the structure. And if the bridge is inoperable, again, going back to the mechanical and electrical nature, then the Coast Guard is going to have a problem with a structure that's not working, which also goes back to that 2016 rehabilitation. The bridge was out of commission for several weeks after one of the major storms. It wasn't able to open, it wasn't able to operate. Certain parts of it had to be replaced. So keeping that channel navigable is also, it's quite important.
Additionally, the city of Bridgeport supports the recommended repairs and preservation of this bridge. So this is very important to work on this, to bring it to a state of good repair.
Yeah. Thank you, John, Brian, and Kawate. So Lynn from Lynn Heck, the Director of Planning in Bridgeport, yeah, also made a statement, similar statement. Okay. I think yeah, we will wait a few more minutes. Yeah, so what can you briefly summarize again how can the public provide more comments after this session?
Yes, we can still receive comments from the general public up until January 20, 2023. So any comments can be sent to the project email as stated, DOT project 15-385@ct.gov. Or you can always call and leave a voice message to 860-594-2020. And of course, you can always visit the project website at www.portal.ct.gov/DOT Bridgeport 15-385. So we look forward to receiving more comments from you. And thank you for taking the time to be with us this evening. And we appreciate your presence.
Yes, so yeah, I think this can conclude our meeting tonight. Again, thank you very much for your time. And we're looking forward to the completion of another successful project in Bridgeport. So thank you, everyone, and good night.
Yeah, good night.